You're not separate from the energy of your future. You're connected to it. All of a sudden, they say, wow, the way I'm thinking and feeling is creating outcomes in my life. And that's when the magic happens. It is an uncomfortable process. But if you apply the formula, when you're in that uncomfortable process, you will literally begin to become somebody else. If you follow the formula and eliminate everything else that's not part of the formula and refine it, it will become a skill. And then you'll have access to begin to make those changes. It's like the 4-minute mile. Once the 4-minute mile is broken, in a matter of weeks, everybody started breaking the 4-minute mile because we crossed the level of consciousness. People come to our workshops for all different reasons. Some people come because they're sick. Some people come because they want more money. Some people want a new job, a new opportunity, a new career, a new relationship. Some people want the mystical. People come for all kinds of reasons. To me, I don't care. What I care about is that they latch on to a vision and they learn how to create. Whatever drives them to that elegant moment where they're so present and so passionate about what they want, and they have a clear intention, a clear vision, a coherent brain, and they have an elevated emotion combined with it, that they create heart coherence. And now they're broadcasting a whole new energy into the field. And whatever we broadcast into the field is our experiment with destiny. So I want people to know the how. Because we have plenty of people that have made millions and millions of dollars that were living in the backseat of their car or filed bankruptcy. We have plenty of people that were stage 4 cancer, serious health conditions that are healed. But really, people think they come for those reasons, but we come for wholeness. That's why we come. That when we feel so whole and so happy with ourselves, so connected to something greater, if you feel wholeness, it's impossible for you to want. How can you want when you're whole? When you're whole, you feel like you have everything. So I want people to reach that point where they feel so whole that they no longer want, and that's when the magic happens. Teaching them that allows them to understand that when they come back to their senses, they open their eyes. They're not looking for the experience. They feel like it's already happened. And if you feel like it's already happened, why would you be looking for it? Then, if your body is conditioned emotionally into that future, you're not separate from the energy of your future. You're connected to it. But the moment you get in traffic and you start getting angry, you get on the line at the bank and you start getting impatient, or you're sitting in a staff meeting and you start judging a coworker, you just disconnected from the energy of the future, and now you're back to the energy of your past, and you've done nothing wrong. You just lost your connection to the future. Now, the importance of that is to notice that you're disconnected. And if you say to me, well, that person made me feel this way and think this way, I'd say, oh my gosh, you're back to the unconscious program of being a victim in your life. The victim is saying that someone or something is controlling how I think and feel. But a person who's producing outcomes in their life, all of a sudden they say, wow, the way I'm thinking and feeling is creating outcomes in my life. Now I'm a creator in my life, and now I believe less that I'm a victim in my life. Point one. Point number two is that people think that they want certain things because they're experiencing lack. So they have to go about becoming the very person. So then, if we reframe it and you say, oh, I really want to be wealthy, I want all my needs met, and I'll say, really, why do you want to be wealthy? And they'll say, because I want freedom. I'd say, okay, well, let's focus on freedom. So now the person understands the sponsoring thought or the emotion. Why would you wait for your wealth to feel free? That's the Newtonian model of reality, of cause and effect, waiting for someone or something out there to take away this emptiness or lack. And what if I'm feeling this emotion is influencing certain thoughts, and how I think and feel creates my life. If I'm living in lack, I'm not going to create anything new. But if I say to you, hey, when you become that person, once you become it, then your reality is going to reorganize itself. Instead of living by cause and effect, Let's teach you how to cause and effect. So then the person then is no longer interested in getting something in their environment when they realize it's about who they become. And all of a sudden now the emphasis or the interest is in becoming that person. And we have a week with those people, and I want them to walk as it, sit as it, stand as it, lay down as it. I want them to get in the habit of walking from their room to the ballroom. It's become the new habit. That's why when we do our work, we're doing sitting meditations, we're doing standing and walking meditations, we're doing lying down meditations. I want it to become a new habit. I want them to become that person. So then, this happens thousands of times. People come for certain reasons. They come to heal their disease, and once they heal their disease, they realize it was never about healing their disease. You know what it was? It was about unlearning, breaking the habit, deprogramming, becoming conscious of their unconscious thoughts, becoming aware of their automatic habits and behaviors, noticing that they've been living in unworthiness and guilt for the last 25 years, but they're so used to living by that feeling, they don't even know it's guilt. It just feels like who they are. So point number 2 is that becoming that person requires you to stop being the old person. That's the work. And so when people come with a passion and enthusiasm to overcome that old self, they're gonna understand then that people who live in the past are asleep in the present, and they have to die. That old person has to die. And the dying of that old personality is an uncomfortable process. But if you apply the formula, when you're in that uncomfortable process, you will literally begin to become somebody else. So when they start becoming that person, they'll say, I thought I wanted wealth, but I really don't want wealth, I want this. And all of a sudden, here come the synchronicities, the opportunities, the serendipities, the coincidences, the wonderful, wonderful events start unfolding in their life. And they're going to say to you, I'm not doing anything, because they took care of the past personality, because your personality creates your personal reality. Your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So then if they're no longer thinking the same way, no longer acting the same way, no longer feeling the same way, they're thinking differently, they're acting differently, they're feeling differently, and they will return back into their lives, they're able to maintain that modified state of mind and body. That's the new habit. They're embodying that energy. Then all of a sudden, people in their life are going to say, something's different about you. Something happened to you, because the person's not showing up in the unconscious, predictable habit of themselves. And they're outstanding because they're not reacting emotionally. They've overcome that sitting in their meditations. They're no longer judging. They took care of those circuits, the hardwired programs. They're no longer blaming or complaining or making excuses because they sat for 2 hours and I let them sit in that emotion and those habits until they finally got beyond them. Now, that's the work. So that person that they've had to conquer, that person they've had to overcome, that they had to become conscious of so they would not go unconscious again. The side effect of that is self-love. The side effect of that is a level of satisfaction with yourself that allows you to be satisfied with others. And people who judge themselves will judge others. People who hate themselves will hate others. People who are impatient with themselves will be impatient with others. People who abuse themselves will abuse others. People who love themselves will love others. People who feel a gratitude for their effort will have gratitude authentically in their life. People who are joyful because they sat in the fire and something changed are going to naturally be joyful, not because they need a car or a wardrobe or a vacation to feel that. They feel joyful because they really feel joyful. It's not coming from out there, it's coming from in here. They will be joyful in their lives and it'll be real. So we're just seeing a community of people reaching that consciousness, and they're not relying on somebody out there to bring them joy. They're joyful because they're in love with who they are. People confuse self-love with pleasure, and it's not the same. The more we are content and love ourselves, the less need we have in our environment for love. See that? And love and need has been very confusing for a lot of people. So if you have two individuals, and by the way, relationships aren't just with one person. We get different things from different people that we have in our lives, and we shouldn't limit our relationship to one person. Not to say that you can't be in an intimate relationship. I'm saying that we have numerous relationships that are equally as important in the grand scope of who we are as souls on the journey. We just can't love one person and despise everybody else. It's got to be consistent. So, but in a relationship where we're talking about men and women, the number one thing is having the same purpose. That if you have a purpose to truly be your best, and you have a person in your life that wants that same thing, well, you're heading in the same direction. And if your passion is to change the world, if your passion is to make a difference, if your passion is to end world hunger, if your passion is to resolve global warming, your passion is to lead by example, whatever your passion is, to have an abundant life, doesn't matter to me. And those two people share that very same purpose, then they're moving in the same direction. If they understand then that evolution means that there will be certain things that we can agree on, and that I'm going to bring my best to the relationship, and you bring your best to the relationship, then we have something in common. And when I'm not at my best, I'm going to excuse myself and not ask you to make me feel better. I'm going to make sure that I'm sovereign enough that when I make my way back to connect with you, that we are going to celebrate our triumphs. You have your world, I have my world. Let's go, and then when we connect, let's make sure that we reflect what we've learned. If I'm stuck and I need a perspective, I want to know your perspective, but only when I ask. If I'm ready to ask, then give me your greatest truth. That's what great relationships do. We support one another in that way. And then it's a give and take, which means then mistakes will be made. There will be challenges. You are going to show certain aspects of a program when you're switched on. No problem with that. But the question is, how long are you going to stay there? Because if you stay there, then you may say something, I want this, with your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind is saying something else. People awakening on the path, on the journey, it takes great effort to nurture the space for that kind of evolution. But people who do this well, that are self-aware, do not have to work in a relationship. I will not work in a relationship. That's not my job. If I'm working in a relationship, then it's not flowing. If you bring your best and I bring my best, and we celebrate our efforts every single day, we talk about what we've learned, we talk about if we had another opportunity, how we could do it better. If I allow you to take your thought all the way to the end, and I say, then how can I support you? How can I bring that out in you? What would be the best thing? And if you lose that sense of purpose, or you fall from grace, how can I, in that moment, what do you want me to tell you if I notice it? Tell me the exact words, like, you're doing it again. Okay. Not like, you're doing it again, but like, hey, you're doing it again. So that the person can, get back on purpose. Now that begins to create a great bond. And that bond is built on true love. So when you have a relationship where you are overcoming needs, you're overcoming the belief of the way relationships should be based on our observation of our own parents and the way they treated one another. When you really are working for something greater than yourself, as a purpose or a truth, and you share that same purpose, there's a bond that happens automatically that's intangible, that requires less work. It's not working on the relationship. It's about working on yourself. And I think that we have in our community people who demonstrate that beautifully. And the side effect of it is that they have magic in their lives.